On August 10th, the upper reaches of the Qing River in northern China's Hebei province had a dam break its banks, while flood levels in downstream Tianjin were dropping. Does this mean that the authorities are discharging floodwater to Hebei in order to protect Tianjin? It's 6 o'clock in the morning on August 10th, and the Qing River has broken its embankment, and this water flows into the east lowland. Look at this big water. The dike broke, and now it's turned into an ocean. It's a panic today. The water is too big.
这水是太大了，看这家伙，这会儿冲了差不多60米了。看看这个人咋的？
记住这节气一天吧，就是完了。
Remember this day, this time. It's over. It's August 10th, 2023. Let's get out of here. The flooding in northern China hasn't stopped. River levees are still bursting in many areas, turning downstream fields into a sea of water and putting villagers' property and lives at risk.
决堤了，完了，彻底决堤了。
看这个大堤了吗？这落个桥，北边这个大堤30多米，看了吗？落个桥北。
万木河塘啊，完了，沦陷了，还是没顶住啊。
完了，开了口子了，抬头。 南屯抬头半洞开了口子了，水越来越大，赶紧绕行啊！赶紧绕行，可别走了，水流越来越大，水流。
The Chinese government, in an effort to protect the city of Beijing, Xi's pet project Chang'an New Area, and the metropolitan city of Tianjin, has repeatedly discharged floodwaters from reservoirs without warning, as well as dug up riverbanks to release floodwaters. It has resulted in the flooding of several cities and rural areas in Hebei province, causing major fatalities, injuries, and property damage. Drazhou City became one of the flood storage areas, an area that flooded up to 12 meters at its deepest, or 39 feet. Online news claims that the real scene of the Drazhou flooding in China is comparable to the 2008 Wenchuan earthquake in China, in which more than 100,000 lives were lost. The conversation captured in the screenshot goes like this.
I just read the reports out there. Drazhou must have at least 6 figures death toll, comparable to Wenchuan earthquake.
Yes, it's worse than the Wenchuan earthquake.
I tell you what, Drazhou reporters went to visit flood victims. Opened the door, a room full of bodies. They didn't dare to film it. It's too shocking. Even if they filmed it, they wouldn't be able to send it out. It's very tragic.
However, this is not the data from official sources in China. On August 11th, Hebei province announced in a press conference that as of the 10th, 29 people had died in the disaster in the province, 6 of whom were previously missing and 16 are still missing. Apparently, Chinese netizens don't believe it. Only a dozen or so of the 800 or so comments in the comments section under this story were kept, and the rest of the skeptical comments must have been deleted. We have no way to verify the specific figures, but we can speculate on the devastation of the flood from other aspects. This villager in Hebei said that 14 people from a family of several dozen lost their lives after the flood. On July 31st, this village was hit by mudslides brought about by the flood in many places. Mountain roads collapsed, communications were cut off, and the village lost contact with the outside world. This is my uncle's house. I have a brother in his 20s who lost his life in a mudslide, and his body hasn't been found yet. All the rescue teams are excavating. This house, all of you, take a look. No matter if it's washed away or not, can this kind of house still be lived in? Even if it can be lived in, this family with dozens of people and all our loved ones lying under the ground, can this house still be lived in? Down from here, there used to be a road and then terraces, but now we can just see the river gorge at a glance. How can we live in the future? Looking up from this angle, this is our back mountain. There are mudslides everywhere. Is there any way to continue to live here? Is there any value in life? Now you look back, it's a mess. Not a single house in this whole area is spared. It's all washed away. What's going on now is that young people have left their homes to work, and old people are back home with their children to escape the summer heat. They were sleeping at home at noon when the mudslide came. That's how it is now. Our people, what should we do? Where should our people go? Where should they go? Where should they live? Our land is gone, our houses are gone, our people are gone. What shall we do from now on? Tell us what the excavators are digging here. There is earth everywhere. What is it about? Now we see piles and piles of dug-out black dirt. Every house guided by locals is digging up bodies in every house. We don't know our lost family members, whether they were buried inside the house by the mudslide or washed away by the flood. We can only dig and dig. When we find one body, we arrange to bury the body. If nothing is found, there will be nothing left. A total of 14 people. I'm willing to take legal responsibility. A total of 14 people have disappeared, dead. Some bodies are never found. You guys just saw him kowtowing on his way into the village, right? Well, every place where you see a pile of paper ash, that's representing a person that was found, and then the excavators are still digging. But there's no telling when the rest of the people can be found. Oops, I can't even find my location. Here is another one. See? Here is another one. Each spread of this paper represents one of his relatives. The excavator made an excavation at this location. It's where my aunt and uncle, my cousin, and 2 nephews lived. A family of 5. They're all gone and haven't been found. Did this used to be a house? Yes, it's a house. It used to be my 3rd uncle's house. Brothers, this puddle of paper ash is for my aunt and uncle, my cousin, and my 2 nephews. Every loved one I'm referring to, my uncles, grandpas, granddads, and grandmas, they all used to hold me, play with me, and see me grow up. There are 5 generations in our family in total. We were all the closest relatives. I can take full legal responsibility for all these videos. We don't have footage of the mudslide in the village, but we can speculate on the flood's destructive power by looking at an earlier mudslide scene in southern China. Floods have receded in some parts of Drazhou's urban area, and many people are worried about their future livelihoods. As soon as I entered the house, there was over a foot of mud. All the furniture was ruined, completely soaked by floodwater. I estimated the water level to be as high as me. I'm 180 centimeters, 5.9 feet tall. That's how high the water was inside the house. The yard is filled with a terrible stench, and along the way, houses have collapsed. You can even enter the surrounding roads, and we have to wade through water to get anywhere. After so many years of hard work, it's heartbreaking. Our food is all gone, and we can't imagine how we'll be able to make ends meet. Some families went to the government to demand accountability. Drazhou city government, this time something big has happened. People are here bringing a coffin to the city government. They have brought a coffin demanding accountability. During the period of the Great Flood in Drazhou, some other unexpected events took place. They seem to show that the city is filled with grievance and resentment. On August 9th, Twitter user Mr. Tao Miao posted a message saying that Chinese Communist Party officials inspecting a disaster area were killed in a plane crash. Pictures showed that CCP officials and military personnel from Baoding City took a helicopter to check the floods from the air. and the plane crashed into a high voltage line. All 16 people on board were killed, including 13 from the military and 3 local officials. The Post said that one of the dead was a reporter from the Baoding TV station, the deputy director of the Bureau of Transportation, and the director of the Emergency Management Bureau from the Baoding city, as well as the military personnel, including a deputy chief and a deputy captain. The reason for the crash was said to be due to foggy conditions and the pilot's inept skills, which led him directly into a high-voltage line. Some may have been electrocuted, others may have drowned when the plane crashed into the floodwaters. The posting also revealed that the local officials all fled when the floodwaters were high and came back when it was safe, and the whole web is now blocking this news of the plane crash. As reported in previous videos, most people who came to the rescue during the floods were civilian rescue teams. Because the government doesn't welcome them, they are perhaps the hardest and worst treated rescue teams in the world. Whoever stole the stuff, do you have a conscience? I came with my boat to Drazhou dock at 8 a.m. on August 1st to rescue and deliver supplies. After the rescue, I found that the flood washed away the trailer towing the boat, so I tied the boat with 2 ropes to a pole on Huaitian Road. When I found the boat was already a kilometer away from the pole. Its engine was missing. The boat cost 20,000 to 30,000 yuan, and the engine cost around 4,000 yuan. This boat is now in a miserable condition. Where is your conscience, you thief? Around August 5th, civilian rescue teams were forced to leave the disaster area by the government for various reasons. At the time, people were speculating that this was because as the floodwaters receded, the truth about the deaths would emerge, which the CCP feared. So, all the people who were not trusted have been cleared. Look, the tanks and military vehicles of the CCP have entered Drazhou. The size of the force makes one wonder if the government is worried about civil protest movements. At the same time, the government has sent out a message that all drones are to be shot down. The so-called malicious live broadcasting will be prohibited. Not only Drazhou, but other cities in Hebei are also under martial law to deal with victims' protests. The soldiers are marching proudly. This gesture, I think you should be against those who invade our motherland, against those pseudo-experts, against those who victimize the country and the people. But now you are in front of a bunch of defenseless people, victims of the disaster. In front of the Great Flood, many celebrities in the entertainment circle in China made donations, such as the popular movie star Zhao Liying. These celebrities who come from rural areas or small towns often have a certain affection for the countryside. In order to ensure that their donations could reach the victims, they asked their relatives to escort the supplies to Drazhou. But strangely enough, the items turned around and appeared at the warehouse. To give you an idea, I'm going to say something today. It's about the video I posted online yesterday, the one about Zhao Liying's donation and all the supplies said to be delivered to the hands of the disaster victims. The disaster victims didn't get them. I was bullied online. You can search for it. What's the truth? Look, okay, come with me. You can see the real situation of Drazhou, okay? Let's show you guys. These are the supplies donated by Zhao Liying. It said that her supplies were personally escorted by her cousin and delivered to the villagers in the disaster area. I would like to know how these supplies are sent back to the warehouse. Look, piles of supplies in such a large warehouse. How come they are sent back to the warehouse? They were donated by her personally. The more I think about it, the angrier I get, and the more anxious I get. All these supplies are sitting in the warehouse. I thank Zhao Liying for sending the supplies, but these supplies didn't reach the victims, right? Originally, you donated the supplies. Thank you very, very much, but these supplies didn't reach the victims. Look at all the celebrities who were bullied online because none of the supplies actually reached the victims. Take a look. Look at where these supplies are sitting. Here, too many of them, okay? piled up into a mountain. Tens of thousands of square meters of factory. Inside is full of supplies. I'm anxious. Have a look at the online user. He's an internet celebrity with 20 million fans. He's the one who managed to get these supplies into the hands of the rescue team. It's not surprising. The CCP doesn't like people with social influence to go to the disaster areas, to meet the victims, to see or hear the real situation with their own eyes. It would be dangerous for celebrities or their agents to go to the disaster area at this time. In northern China, it will take a long time for the floodwaters to completely recede in some places. In some places, people are gradually returning to their homes and facing an uncertain future.
Gosh, this flood put people in a whole new misery. People are homeless now. This neighbor offered a bit of food, and this sister is tormented so much. Here's a little dry food and little porridge. Look at how this family lives. Look at everyone. How can the people live? Look at this house. Every family is like this. Everything has to be thrown out. Overnight, we went back to poverty. Clothes, food, and supplies. What can we do? How can we live like this? Look at this.
Heilongjiang province is known as the grain warehouse of China because of its fertile land and rice production. On August 2nd and 3rd, it was hit by massive floods. Again, the floodwaters have not receded in some areas. The floodwaters have receded in some areas, but in a bizarre twist, the local government has decided to use these Chinese grain silos as flood storage areas. In order to ensure that the floodwater doesn't flow out and affect what they consider to be more important cities, these officials led police teams and personally directed them to block the floodwater exits. Yes, to make sure the water stays in the farmland.
They're going to close the opening. If they close it, everything will be flooded. And those that unflooded will be flooded all over again. How can this be? Look at it. Big trucks are coming with stones. They're going to block the opening. The land will be flooded. And when they block the opening, homes will be flooded again. The people are getting desperate and won't allow it. Look, this is a government official. This is the party secretary.
Listen to me. I'm here on behalf of the government. Now, what am I going to tell you? This truck of stone must be hauled, and none of you can stop it. Why? It's for the road. It's not for filling in the embankment. All of you, go home. If it's wrong, you can come and find me. I represent the government. I can go to jail. You leave. These stones must be hauled. No one can stop it. No one can stop this. He said he was repairing the road, and he made it very clear. Of course, the villagers are not stupid, only that no one knows whether they have the ability to protect their homes and lands.